Chumash and Rashi. Yes. And people know we're on.
Rashi had a lot to say today.
Rashi has a lot to say. So let's get right into it. We're the sixth reading on Parshas Eikev. We're in Deuteronomy or Dvarim, chapter 11, verse number 10. Today we're going to do the second paragraph of the Shema. All right. Great coffee today. Great coffee. Amazing. Pizza at Starbucks anytime.
And the price is right.
And the price is right. Yeah. Could you take $5 from Shimon Leib for that statement? We want you, huh?
That's what it costs in Starbucks.
At least $5, right? So I want to make sure he got a bargain. So he got a bargain. He only paid $5.
Coffee's not $5
It's more.
at Starbucks.
It's more than $5.
Fancy coffee like mochaccino or something.
Okay.
Kosher.
So we're charging you. We're giving you a bargain.
Go to Press Cafe. He'll charge you pretty close to $3.50 a coffee, regular, and that's a regular coffee.
All right. Verse number 10.
Pretty expensive, to be honest with you.
For the land that you're coming there, to take possession of it, it's not like the land of Egypt. That you left from there. Asher tizra izaracha, vishkisa bigraglecha, kigan hayere. Right, that it is in which after you sowed your seed, you watered your fields by the foot, like the vegetable garden. Let's see Rashi, lengthy Rashi over here.
Future tense?
Huh?
Future tense.
You so no.
So
No.
does that mean they were permitted to have their own gardening in Egypt?
I don't know. It sounds. Let's see what Rashi says, because it sounds a little unusual.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. Good question. Look at it, Mitzrayim. This land that you're going to is not like the land of Egypt, but it's better than it. This promise was already made to the Jewish people when they left Egypt. That they were saying, perhaps we're not going to come to a land that is as wonderful as this land. They really had a slave mentality, a real slave mentality. Imagine you're slaves, but yet this land is wonderful. Like, what gives?
But Egypt was a very fertile place.
Yes, but they were slaves in the land. So why would they say this? Why would they say this? That doesn't make.
What they say,
The grass is.
the place you know is better than the place you don't know.
You're right. I guess this proves it. I guess this proves it. Yeah. So they had. Right.
Access to something that they don't have now.
Yeah.
It's in the frying pan.
Yeah.
Brought to the fire.
Into the fire. So in other words, at least you know the frying pan. If you go out of it, maybe you're going into the fire. Same thing with Jesus.
One might think. So you might think by reading this verse that it's speaking in a disparaging manner about the land of Israel. And accordingly, Moshe said to them as follows: Like Eretz Mitzrayim, this land is not like Egypt. You might think that he's saying, but it's worse than it. Talmud Loimar, but the verse comes to teach us otherwise. Chevron Sheva Shonim Nibnasa Lifnei. Chevron, which is built in Israel, right? Built 7 years before the Zoyan of Egypt. Adam Echad Bana, the same person built both Chevron and Zoyan. Cham Bana Tzayan leMitzrayim B'nai. Cham, the son of Noach, he built Tzayan for his son Mitzrayim, by the name Mitzrayim. The land of Egypt is called after his son Mitzrayim. The Chevron, the Canaan, and Chevron was built for his son Canaan. derech eretz, it's the way of the world. Adam beinem as hanoeh, the person builds the first, what he builds, first builds that which is the nicest, and afterwards, beine is a garua, he builds the inferior. He builds the nicest one first. Chip is salty, sharishan. And from the waste material of the first, what's left over, in other words, of the first, who nice on the sheni, he builds for the second. Of a chol makam, and furthermore, in every case, a chaviv kaidim, the most dear comes first, right? Because you're giving the most dear to your older son, right? So he's the firstborn. Let's say he's the firstborn. So you're giving that which is dearer to your older son. So from this we learn the chevron is more beautiful than Tzayim, for it was built first. So, which means chevron, right, which was built first, is more dear and better than that which was built in Egypt. Got it?
It says over here, Hebron was the poorest of all the land.
Huh?
So on.
So on.
Says here
What's that one?
that Hebron was the poorest.
Yeah, but so on is in Israel, right?
So one is in Israel?
I don't know which.
I'm sorry, so on is in Egypt. Sorry, so on is in Egypt versus Hebron, which is in Israel, right? Hebron was built before Tzai. You build the better one first, right? And with the leftover material, you build your second home. That's the way of the world, as Rashi is saying. Okay, the world back then for sure.
Who was the firstborn of
Ham,
Ham? So he built
Canaan.
it says here,
Canaan first,
Ham
and then Mitzrayim. Right? Canaan first. The lands got named after the sons of Noach. Right?
And then Hebron, right?
Got it? Now Tzayin is the most excellent part in Egypt. Tzayin Shevach Mitzrayim he. Because that's where the location of royalty. So that was the best placed within Egypt. Shekenu, as it says in the Torah, that the ministers were in Tzayin. That's what it says in Yeshayahu and Isaiah. The Chevron, and Chevron is the most inferior part of the land of Israel, right? That's why it was set aside for burial of the dead, because it's not a place for planting and for growing things. Afalpike, nonetheless, Hiyof and Mitzayin, it's more beautiful than Tzayin. So that's Rashi's bringing a proof. What we see in the Torah, we've had this Rashi before, by the way. I don't remember where, but he said this before, this argument. Now he's giving another proof. In the tractate Subas, they interpret a verse in Bamidbar in a different way. After Adam biasly cotton, is it possible that a person will build? Oh, I mentioned this previously. A house for his younger son, and afterwards he will build for his older son. Rather, Chevron was fertile sevenfold in comparison to Tzayin.
Is Egypt one of the sons of?
Yes. Yeah.
Who?
Ham.
Huh?
Ham. We said that in the beginning of yeah. Okay. Continuing. Asher Yitzazim Misham, that you left from there, Afilim Eretz Ramses, even the land of Ramses is where they left. Asher Yishaftim Ba, that's where you dwell. Vehiba Meta Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Mitzrayim, and it is the best part of the land of Egypt. Shenemar is the B'meitiv Aretz, it's the best part of the land. And Ramses, as it says, right, when Yaakov came, he was given for his family by Parai, the best of the land, which is in Ramses. Right, Israel, it too is not like the land of Israel. And water it by foot, and it's Mitzrayim Haisetzricha. Huh?
Yaakov or Abraham?
Yaakov.
To Sarah.
No. When Yaakov came down, but they came and dwelt in Mitzrayim, right? So Parai gave him the best land for grazing because he had sheep, right? He had sheep that needed to be grazed, and he gave him the best part of the land, which is Ramses and Goshen.
Didn't he give that already to Sarah before?
What?
Goshen.
No, they didn't
call it-
bother.
Until today, they call it the land of Sarah.
Anyways,
Part of
he
the
brings
gifts
he
that
brings
gave
out
to
he brings the
Abraham.
Genesis 47, 11. That's the end of right. That's not the beginning of Bereshis. So it's about Yaakov when he came down to when he came down in Parshas Vayigash. Yeah, take a look. You'll see. Anyway, that's what he's making reference to 100%. The fact that it was given to Avram earlier is they didn't dwell in the land then. That's not the point. Even giving, it doesn't is not when Yaakov came with his family, right? When Yosef was the second in command. So and they were before Paro. So Paro gave them the best land to dwell in, where they could have their cattle raised, right?
I know.
So that's what it's referencing.
That he gave it to Sarah before that.
Anyway,
It's
that's
a
what
very
it's.
known thing.
Anyway, that's what it's referring to. That
It's regifting.
Anyway, that's what it is. You look there. That's what it says. I don't know. Anyway, but that's anyway, but that's not a proof that it's the best land. Here it was a proof that it was the best land because he gave them what he said was the Meitav Haaretz. It doesn't say that by Avram Meitav Haaretz. It says by Yaakov. Okay, and you water it by foot. The land of Egypt required your feet. You had to bring the water of the Nile by foot, to irrigate it. You had to wake up from your sleep and you had to toil. What happened was like this: the Nile flooded, right? It overflowed and it flooded the land, but water goes down to the lowest point. So it only went down to the low point, but they had to bring with buckets to the high point when it overflowed, because it didn't reach the high point, because water doesn't go up, it goes down. So you had to wake up early in the morning to take the water that overflowed and bring it to the high point, right? That's what he's saying over here. Not to high point, not to mala, you have to bring up the water. From the low point to the high point. But this land that you're going into, the land of Canaan, the rain of the heavens, it drinks water. You sleep on your bed. And the Holy One, blessed be He, He waters both the high point, the low point, and the high point. That which is revealed and that which is not revealed, all as one together. You could sleep and God's going to take care of it. Kigana yerek, like a vegetable garden. She'ein de'iloi geshamim. The watering by rain is not enough for it. That the water is by foot or by shoulder. You must carry the water in containers on your shoulders by foot in the land of Egypt. Okay. Verse number 11. The land that you're passing over now, Larishta, to take possession, Eretz Harim, is a land of mountains, and valleys. Lemata Rashamayim Tishte. From the rain of the heavens, you will drink its waters. It will water. Tishte, right, drink its waters, exactly. 11 in Rashi, Eretz Harim Milukos, a land of mountains and valleys. The Shubach Ahar Mina Mishar, the mountain is superior to the plain. Shamisha, for the plain, the base core Atazayakur, because in a plain, one base core sows a core of seed, needs a core of seed. Of Alahar, but the mountain, the base core Mimenu, then a base core of it. Korim, you get 5 cores. Arba Arba Shipua from the 4 slopes, and one on top. He's bringing out the virtue of what? What's happening here? What are we talking about? Israel. Thank you. Someone's on their game. Speaking about the virtues of Israel, right? So why is he saying mountains? Well, how's a mountain a virtue? Mountain is a tough, because you got 4 slopes and you got the top. So you've got more planting, you've got more vegetation.
So fertile.
It's more fertile. It's more, you get more from a mountain than you would on a flat land.
What's a core of seed?
It's an amount.
An acre?
It's an amount. Because so be it, yes. Hey and Mishar, they are plains. Okay. 12. Eretz, to land. So again, let's be very clear over here that what he's doing is now giving the virtues of the land of Israel compared to where they came from Egypt, right? So now he says, and this is the land that Hashem that God Derish. He says watches over here, but that's not the literal translation is seeks out. Derish is seeking out, right? Tamid continuously, the eyes of God are continuously in it, Mereshis Hashana, from the beginning of the year, and Achri Shana until the end of the year. A lot of Chassidus on this, but we're not going to go into that now. A lot. It's this phenomenal verse. The land that Hashem God seeks out, but does not God seek out all other lands? To bring rain upon the land where there is no man. In other words, God brings rain everywhere, right? So, right, because the context of this was previous verse, rain, right? So he said God brings rains where even no man exists. Ella, as it were, in a derech, he saw that he seeks out none but it, and through seeking out, by which he seeks it out, he seeks out all other lands together with it. Just like the Western Wall is where all the prayers go up to heaven from the entire world, right? It's the center of the universe, as we see politically and so on and so forth. And geographically, by the way, it is, right? Where it's on the nexus of every continent, right? Except for North America, right?
For Australia.
And Australia, yeah, right? But it's on the nexus of Africa, Asia, and Europe, right? So it's the center of the universe. So likewise over here, that it's the land that God seeks out, and because he seeks it out, from it, every other land is sought out too. That God takes care of every other land. He takes care of every other land. Yeah. And that's why those who are smart know that if they support Israel, they get supported. Those are smart people who aren't Jewish.
Not too many today, but.
Yeah, there are some. They do it for maybe other reasons that, they should get a little, whatever. Wake up call.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, the eyes of Hashem, your God, are always upon it. To see what it needs, and to introduce decrees upon him. At times for good, and at times for bad. Right? So when God is seeking out, he's seeking out on both ends, he's saying, right? In other words, it's like, when your eyes are on something, your eyes on it for both good and for bad. So when the Jews are good, they're going to get good, and God forbid. Reish Shana, from the beginning of the year, Reish Shana, which is from Rosh Hashanah and Didain, it's a judge, what will be at the end of the year. Okay, 13.
13?
Oh, second chapter of the Shema. Get ready, folks. Right. He's Mashgiach, yeah. Okay, second paragraph of the Shema coming up right now. L'chaim. All right. Verse 13. V'haya, and it will be im shamaya, if you will listen to Yishmu, that you will listen. Es el mitzvah to my commandments. Asher anoichi mitzaveh, that which anoichi is I, right? Mitzaveh commands eschem, you, hayom, today. Li ahava, to love. Yes, Hashem Elokeichem, Hashem your God. Ulavda, and to serve Him. B'chol levavchem, with all of your heart, b'chol nafshechem, and with all of your soul.
Soul, same thing as might.
Let's learn Rashi, and we'll see. Huh?
Soul.
No.
All your mights.
There's no all your might here. This is second paragraph doesn't have with all your might. First paragraph does, second one doesn't. What's one of the distinctions? But we're not going to go. We're going to learn Rashi now. Okay. Okay. V'haya im shamaya. Rashi in 13, and it will be if you will listen. V'haya, the word v'haya, and it will be right. Musa v'alamar l'mayla. It goes back on what was stated above. What is that? That the rain of the heavens, it drinks water, right? That was that was previously in verse 11. We're verse 13, right? Im shamoy tishmu, if listening, if you will listen, I will provide for you rain in your land. V'im lav, and if not, I will restrain the heavens from pouring down rain. Okay. Bahayam Shammai Tishmu. In Israel, boy, do they need rain today. The weather there is unreal. How hot it is, 140 degrees in some places.
Where?
Wow.
Yeah,
In Israel?
in Israel. Yeah,
It's a furnace.
literally. Yeah, 50 degrees. That's 140. Something like
Same as Dubai.
yeah,
It's
crazy. Something like that. Yeah.
Water.
Okay. All right, let's learn this and bring down rain in Israel. And actually, the whole world needs it. The whole world needs it. So Rashi again brings down now V'hayam Shem Tishmu, and he brings down Tishmu, right? That if listen, you will listen. Im Shamaya Yibiyashin, if you're going to listen to the old Tishmu B'chadash, you'll listen to the new. That he's speaking about why it's repetitive. Listen to the old. If you'll listen to the old, you'll also listen to the new. In others, you review that which we studied, you'll gain new insights. That's from the Gemara Rashi. Okay. And similarly, we interpret it. In other words, the fact that it's double, right? It's a double word. The word is doubled, right? If forgetting, you will forget. You begin to forget. You neglect reviewing that which you learned. In the end, you'll forget it all. Likewise, it's written in Megillas Chassidim, that if you abandon me for a day, I will leave you for two. Right. In other words, if you leave God, you're walking away from God, so you're not a day away from Him, because He's walking away from you too, so you're 2 days away. So if you're going to listen, or not going to listen, right? So you will go this way. That's why it's double wording. Shamoya tishmu, the same word, just repeated, right? To bring out the idea of the double abandonment or the double listening that's necessary.
For the past, one is for the future.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that. He didn't say that though.
What? Shamoa beyasham.
Okay. In the old, right?
Tishma bechadash.
Tishma b'chadash. Tishma'u. Tashamaya. Right. In the old, then you'll listen to the new. Yes. Okay. Correct the one.
Did we say, Rabbi, that it works also the other way around?
It works both ways. Yeah, of course.
So closer.
Well, here it's in the positive, because here it's actually, he was bringing examples of other places where you see a double wording and what it means. Those were examples. Our verse is saying in listening. If you listen to the old past tense, like Chaim said, right? It's past tense, then you'll also listen to the new, which will be introduced. In other words, you'll listen to everything. Mitzvah eschem hayom, that I command you today. What does that mean? How am I commanding you today? Shiyu aleichem chadashim, it should be to you as new. What I'm commanding you, even though He commanded us 3,000 years ago, 3,337 years ago precisely, He commanded us at Mount Sinai. What does it mean today? Because what I commanded you back then, look at it as if I commanded it to you today. That's how you have to approach it. As if you heard it today. Why heard it? Because the previous words were, you heard. right? Love is Hashem, that you to love God. That you shouldn't say Harayani Loimed, that I'm learning Bishvil Sheya Osher. Don't say I'm learning Torah in order to be rich. Bishvil Sheya Rav, or that I should be called a rabbi. Bishvil Sheya Kapos, or that I should receive a reward. Oh, I'm going to go to heaven. No, Ella, Kol Mashatasa, everything that you do, I say, may Abba do it out of love. The Sefer because of love and the honor. The Sefer Kavod love and the honor will come at the end. Don't do it for the honor, don't do it for the glory, don't do it for anything, but for the love of God. Right, exactly. To do it for the sake of the connection with Hashem. And you should serve him with all of your heart. What is this is service of heart, this is where the positive commandment in the Torah is that you need to need to what? I just said it. Pray. Stay focused. I just said it. This is a positive commandment right here that we have to pray. Right? It doesn't say pray. You have to serve him with all your heart. That's what it says. What does Rashi just say? What kind of service is in the heart? This is prayer. Prayer is called service. As it says, your God, whom you constantly serve. Now, was there a temple service in Babylon? That's where this verse was said in Daniel in Babylon. But when Daniel would pray, that they had the windows open in the upper story in direction of Jerusalem, you pray 3 times a day before Hashem to give thanks to Hashem. In other words, showing that this idea of service means prayer. Because the word service, usually, we're learning a Rambam now. What book are we in Rambam? Who knows what book we're in Rambam? Rambam. That's Chumash. We're learning sacrifice, correct, but the name of the book is Avodah, service. What's it speaking about? The temple service. Because usually temple service is the concept of Avodah, service. But it's also the idea of
Prayer.
Oh, look at that. You guys are with it. You're with it. Amazing. Well, actually, no. It's not. It is, but not here. In this verse, it's not the replacement of prayer. Here it's the proof that it means prayer, as Rashi wants to prove.
But it's the 2 Yetzarim.
No, that's not what he's saying over there. That's not at all what he's saying here, though. That's not at all. It's from la'avdai. He's speaking about la'avdai. That's the point he's bringing out here. That's not what he's saying here. You're correct in what you're saying, but that's not what we're learning right now. Shama is avoida. It's the fact that it's avoida. How do we know this is tefillah? That's what he's proving over here. That it's tefillah. Yeah. Okay. Likewise, by David, we see also that my prayer would be pleasing and his incense before you. He's showing by David that you see he's comparing the two. Incense is service in the service in the temple, and yet it's my prayers. There's a correlation between the two. That's what he's bringing a proof. Amazing. I hope you're following, folks. All the heart with all your soul. He's here, but didn't Torah already caution us? In the first paragraph of the Shema, right? So why do we have to say it over here? Why do we? Why is this cautioning us over here? But that was a warning in the first paragraph to an individual because it's written in singular form, right? Azhara, letzibor. But this is a warning to the public.
It's interesting. The first time I see here, he's saying that the tikon tfilati ketor lefanecha, that actually tefillah is a replacement to ketoret, just like neshama parim sfatenu.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, 14. We're now in 14, okay? We're focused?
Yeah.
Okay. Benasati, and I will give matar, rain, ba'artzachem, in your land, be'itai, in its time. Okay. Yeira means an early rain. Malkush means later rain. V'asafta, and you shall gather. Deganecha, your grain. V'siroishcha, and your wine. V'yisarecha, and your oil. Right? The three main kind of produce. 14 in Rashi. And I will provide rain in your land. So Rashi said, once you're going to do that which is you're obliged to do, I will do what's incumbent on me to do. Right? In others, what do you mean I'm going to give? What do you mean? What's the term I'm going to give? I'm going to give rain. An unusual term. In other words, I'm giving that which I'm obliged to do. Why am I obliged to do? Because you did what you were obliged to do. So all the time I got to do what I'm obliged to do. And sati, I'm giving, right? It's a funny term, right? B'itai, in its time. What's its time? Baleilis, at night. That I shouldn't cause you to any bother. That's one explanation. Second explanation, what does it mean? B'itai, in its time. Davar acher, b'itai means B'leil Shabbos, Shabbos night. Sha'akol mitzvim b'abateim, because everybody's found at home then, right? Shabbos night, after you come to shul, you go home. You don't go out afterwards. You're at home celebrating Shabbos. Yoren, the early rain, revia, that's the fertilizing rain. Which falls after sowing, that it quenches the land, and the seed. That's called the early rain. Why is it early? Because it's after you seeded the ground that you need that rain in order to kind of to fertilize, right? Umalkish, and the later rain, revives fertilizing rain also b'sheredes and descends samuch lekatzer, immediately before harvest. Why? To fill out the grain in its stalks. In other words, to fully make it grow. Right. The first one is in order that it should start its growth spurt, and then the last one is that it should be fully a full stalk. The lashon malkush, lashon ma'uchar. The word malkush means late. Targumim, as in the translation, v'haya ba'atufim leloven lekashia, as atufim is the later ones that came to Lavan, Kisha. That was in not certain. That was in the Breshis with Yaakov and Lavan.
In Hebrew, Malkush is the peak. What's it called? The peak.
Oh,
Huh?
oh.
No, it's with the hammer, but.
Okay, davar acher, alternatively. I don't know. Okay. When you think of it, lekach nikra malkush. That's why the rain that precedes the harvest is called malkush. You read this ala malilos because it descends upon the ripe ears of grain, ala kashim, and upon the stalks. Okay. And you shall now gather your grain. Gather in your grain. You shall bring it, your grain, your crops into the house. Not your enemies. As it says, what does it say? Excuse me, as it says in Isaiah, I will not again give you the grain as food for your enemies. For those who bring it in shall eat it. Not like it says, as it says in Judges and Shoftim, that it says over there would be if Israel would sow, Midian would raise up an Amalek. Okay, not exactly certain what the story is over there. Okay. Huh? A pick?
Just trying to know what the word was for,
Okay.
Just needed it.
Judges, it's referring to judges.
Yeah,
Shaftim.
yeah. I say I don't know the storyline over there. That's what I mean. Okay, let's continue. We got a truck. We got a truck. We're in the trucking business over here. Okay, because we got not much time. And Sati and I will give the grass on your fields, for your animals, that they should be able to graze. And you shall eat and be satisfied. Rashi, I will provide grass in the field, that you will not need to lead your animal to the wilderness to graze. Right? In other words, in where your field is, you'll have plenty. Alternative explanation is that you'll be able to cut your crops throughout the rainy season. And you'll be able to cast it before your put it before your animals, and you will withhold your hand from it. Meaning you will not cut your crops. 30 days before the harvest, and your field will not decrease in its grain, and the amount of grain you will yield will be as great as if you would not have fed your livestock. In other words, you're going to feed your livestock from it, and yet you will have also enough for grain. You'll have both for both ends. And you will eat and you'll be satisfied. Zoe bracha acheres is a different blessing. Shitei bracha mituya bapas, that there should be blessing found in the bread, b'seich hamayin, inside your stomach. In other words, you could eat. That doesn't mean you're going to be satisfied, right? But you're going to bring satisfaction disproportionate to what you eat. There'll be satisfaction. 16. Hishamru lachem. Beware for yourselves. Pen yifte, that lest your heart will lead you astray. Levavchem, your heart. Actually, that means astray. That your heart is gonna yifte, you're gonna turn your heart him and be led astray. And you will serve like imachim, other gods. And you will bow down to them.
Rashi still?
We're now we're Rashi Shamar Lochem. Since you're going to be eating and you're going to be full, right? That's what the previous verse said. So it's connected to the previous verse. You're going to eat, you're going to be satisfied, right? Therefore, you better be wary. That you should not kick, meaning rebel against God. The person doesn't really rebel against God, except for being satiated. In other words, you're full. You got everything. So, you don't need God. I've got plenty. As it said earlier, actually, lest you eat and be satisfied, and your cattle and your flock will increase. And your heart will become haughty, and you will forget God. And you will turn astray. You will be led astray. To be led away from the path of Torah. And as a result of that, you will serve other gods. Since a person parts from the Torah, then he will go and attach himself to idolatry. Likewise, David said, this is a similar thing by King David. For they have driven me away today. From attaching myself to the portion of God, Lamar to say, go and worship other gods. Who said to him as such? Ella, what David meant. Since I'm driven away from engaging in Torah, that's going to bring me so close that I could be engaged in idol worship. In other words, if you're not doing good, automatically that means you're going to end up doing bad. Elikim acherim, other gods.
Can't just be atheist.
No, can't just. Shem Achim Lav, a Yid we're talking about, right? A Yid, someone who was serving God, but he's got everything he needs now. So he's gonna, he doesn't think he needs God, right? He's gonna now disassociate. He's gonna part from Torah. From parting from Torah, eventually he'll come to idolatry. Other gods, Shem Achim Lav Deim. What does it mean? Other gods? They're other to those who worship them. Tzayik Allah. What does it mean? He cries out to them, and they don't answer him. Nimsa comes out. Osilai lekinoch, makes himself as a stranger to him. Choraf Hashem, and the anger of God, the wrath of God, will be in you. And he will stop the heavens, and there will not be rain. And the land will not give its yevula, will not give its produce. And you will be lost, perished quickly. On the land that Hashem has given to Lachem, is given to you. Rashi es yivula produce. Af ma she'ata moivila, even that which you transported, even the seed you bring to sow it. Kinyan shenema, as it says, rata harbe ba'abe ba'ad, that you sow much, but you brought back little. Okay, and you will perish quickly. I'll call Shara Yisurim, in addition to all the other sufferings that will exile you, Adama, from the ground, from the earth, from Israel, in other words, because it caused you to sin. What caused you to sin? The land caused you to sin, because you got so much from the land. You got such wealth from the land that caused you to sin. So guess what? You're going to be taken away from the land, right? Mashal Lamelch, this can be compared to a king. Sheshala b'nei levesa mishta, that he sent his son to a party. Haya yeshiv fakte. Before he went, he sat down and instructed him and told him, "Al teicha yesem mitzarcha. Don't eat more than you need to. Shetava inoki lebeis chadish. Come clean back home. Lo yishkeach benho." And that son didn't pay attention to his father, what he told him. So yes, he drank more than he needed to. And he vomited. The night of his Siba, and he made filthy the entire banquet from throwing up. That he took him by his hands and feet. They threw him behind the palace. Right? He said, "Don't do this." So this is what God's going to do to us. God forbid. When we're just too full of ourselves, we're going to throw up, vomit, and therefore we're going to be kicked out of the palace, out of Israel. Huh? Yeah, that's Mehira, quickly. Not giving you a reprieve. And if you will say, wasn't there a reprieve for the generation of the flood? Shenemar says, because it was 120 years, right? God was more strict with us than he's with them as a result. Because the door of the flood, they didn't have who to learn from. But you have who to learn from. In other words, you have leaders, proper people that you should learn from, and you shouldn't act this way. Wow. The something is the something in each place is devarai, my words, Ela, these words. Alavavchem on your heart, Val nafshechem, and on your soul. Kshartim, and you should bind them, oisam them, la'ois, as a sign al yedchem, on your hand, and they should be toitafais, between your eyes. This is tefillin. Rashi in 18. Something is devarai, you should place these words of mine, even after you go into exile, right? The previous verse said, you're going to get kicked out of land, you're going into exile. Now this verse continues, right? Even in exile, you're going to be distinguished and special when it comes to the commandments. Yinicha tefillin. You'll be putting on tefillin. V'asa mezuzahs. You can put on mezuzahs. Kadei shelo yiyu lachem chadoshim. Or you should have not be new to you. Kishetachzu la'aretz. That when you will return to the land. Wow. V'cheinu oimer. So it says v'tziva lo mitziyanim. Yeah, rect markers for yourself. Wow, fascinating, fascinating. Okay. Okay, let's go very quickly now. I mean, you should teach them as benechem to your children, to your sons. To speak in them, and sitting in your homes, and walking in the path, and when you get up and when you go lie down and when you get up. Rashi, number 19. To speak in them. When a son knows how to speak, you should teach him. Moshe commanded us to Torah. We teach him that verse in Deuteronomy. That this should be his natural pattern of speech. In other words, in the words of Torah. From here. We say Shatinik Maskul Adaber when a child begins to speak. Aviv Masiach Imai Belashon Kodesh. His father speaks to him in the holy tongue. Malam the Torah and teaches him Torah right away. If he doesn't do so, it's as if you buried him. As it says, she teaches him to speak in them. As the verse continues and says, in order to increase your days on the days of your children, which implies that if you didn't do so, if you didn't teach your children Torah from when they start to speak, Yirbu, you will increase. And if you will teach him, you will increase. And if not, implication is you will not increase. That the words of Torah are interpreted miklal lav, the hain, from the negative implies the positive, miklal hain, lav, and from the positive implying the negative. Right? That's the point. And you should write them on the mezuzahs on the doorposts of your home and of your gateways. Last verse. Laman Yerbu Yemechem, in order that you should have long days. And days for your children, long days for your children. Allah on the land Hashem that God has sworn to your fathers, to give to them. As long as the days of heaven above the earth. Rashi in 21. To give to them. Says, what do you mean to give to them? It should say lachem, to you. What do you mean to them? He's not giving, he's giving it to us, this land. Why is he saying to them? Right? Allah, but rather Allah says to give to them. From here we learn the resurrection of the dead from the Torah. Wow. Wow. Right? This is a hint to the resurrection of the dead. Because they will come back, them, right? Not you, who's Moshe is speaking to. Them who passed away, they're going to come back and they're going to get the land too of Israel. That's a hint to the resurrection of the dead from the Torah. Okay, folks, we're going to Tanya.
Did you say that you're saying our forefathers for his children in the future?
Huh?
Why can it be a promise that was done to the forefathers?